Hello, we've had one exam in AP 151 on the lecture side, and there are four more exams to come. So as long as you took exam one, I think mathematically, everyone is still able to get an A. Definitely everyone can still get a B. If your uh, score on exam one was not what you hoped it would be, then let's talk a little bit about how you can improve your studying. Uh, and there are a few things that you may not be thinking of because no one really teaches us how to study. And I'm not an authority on the subject, but I do want to encourage you to be looking for ways to work with your brain and ways that go far beyond the kind of memorization that you may have been doing ever since you were in first grade. Okay? Memorization necessary for some things, not a good way to learn the material that you're studying. Okay. Now, the very first day that we met live, I told you that this course takes a lot of time. Before we were forced online, we would meet in person for 6 hours a week. Okay. So 3 hours of lecture a week, 3 hours of lab. Okay. So you should be spending at least 3 hours of your time watching those recordings of the lectures, preparing yourself for the exams. But that's not all. For every hour a week that you're in class, you're supposed to be spending 2 hours outside of class. So that means that just for the lecture part of the class, you should be spending 3 hours a week reviewing my videos and then 6 more hours studying for the exam. Okay. Now that's a lot of time, but that's the amount of time that it takes to succeed in a difficult class. I really want you to remember that this material that you are learning now, you should consider this. If you're going into nursing, you should consider this as your first nursing school class. If you hate this, you're probably going to hate nursing school too. So keep that in mind. Even if you don't love this material, you find it very challenging, you're going to need it because some of the stuff that I give you 2, 3, 4 lectures on, like a whole hour of time, when you get into your nursing program, they're going to go, remember this, blah, blah, blah. And after 10 minutes, they're going to be moving on. They're going to expect that you need to know this, right? Now, one of the things that I wanted to say about taking notes, I really recommend that students should take notes. However, I probably have never explained to you what I mean about taking notes. Taking notes is not writing down everything I say, okay? There is no need to do a transcript of this. For one thing, it's on YouTube and you can download a transcript. That's not what taking notes is. Taking notes is focusing on what I'm talking about, and then when you come to a moment of the lecture where something important is being said, that you go ahead and write something down. For myself, when I am listening to like maybe an hour of lecture, I usually will end up with 4 pages of me writing stuff down. Now, here's one of the tricks. One of the tricks is a lot of times I never go back and look at my notes. You probably will because this is a class. Why do I take notes if I'm not going to go back and read them? I take notes because taking notes, writing things down, is my way of cueing to my brain, this is important, please remember it. Okay? All right, now taking notes. Let's look at one of the ways that you can take notes. I have got, oh, wait, let me go to here, right here. In your AP 151 lecture Canvas page, the front page looks like this. And if you go here to PowerPoint slides, it'll take you to the PowerPoint slides that I use while I'm giving those lectures that I've recorded. All right. So when you go to those PowerPoint slides for the endocrine system, for example, it looks a little bit like this. Here's one way to help you take notes. One way to help you take notes is to print these out. But when you print them out, you go up. There must be a better way for me to. Hmm, I don't see the, all right. Well, up here in the far left corner, I don't know if you can see my mouse, you click File. After you click File, you go to Print. After you click Print, go down here, and for color, I usually go grayscale or black and white. I haven't noticed a difference between those two. And then instead of full page slides, I will put maybe 6 of them on a page. You can put 6 of them on a page horizontal like this, or instead of horizontal, you can put them, sorry, instead of landscape, you can put them in portrait, right? And then this way you can highlight things that I was talking about or put in little notes that I was talking about without having to write everything down, okay? So this is one way that you can help yourself take good notes, is by starting with my PowerPoints. Another thing that I want to point out, and I think it's really important, is before you start watching any of my lectures, you should go to the study guide and you should print out the study guide. Here's what the study guide for exam 2 looks like. And what you should do before you watch any of my lectures is you should go to those chapters. Like here are the questions about the endocrine system, okay? What part of the endocrine system is also part of the nervous system? And you should read all of these questions, at least the ones you haven't found answers to, before you start watching my lectures. Here's what this will do. When you're watching my lectures, your brain does not know what is important about what she's saying and what is less important. What is one of her digressions that she goes on? Well, if you have read this, then what's going to happen is you will just have read, where's the pituitary gland, where are the adrenal glands, where's the thyroid gland. You will have read this. And then when I start talking about it, your brain will go, hey, brain, guess what? She's giving you the answer to one of those questions. You can pause the lecture, you can go back and look at the study guide questions, and you will write these things down. These are all tricks for how your brain likes to work. Your brain doesn't like listening to something and kind of going in blind. Your brain wants to know, hey, out of the stuff in this lecture, what's going to be important, right? And once you find something important, taking notes, writing down the answers to these questions, or just writing down something important that I've said or it feels important to you, taking notes, that's a way of telling your brain, hey, this is important, please remember it. These are tricks that will allow you to get twice as much learning done in the same amount of time. There's a limited amount of time in your day, right? These two things, using the study guide before you start watching the lectures, taking notes, printing out the PowerPoint slides, these are things that will make every hour that you spend worth twice as much as it was before. Okay? All right. All right. That was from the very first day. Do you remember the 5 words that I asked you to remember from the very first day of class? Do you remember I told you a story about, well, it had a fish in it? Okay? See if you can remember any of the words, right? A lot of you will. A lot of you will remember that my grandfather took me fishing and we caught a fish and we put it in my red wagon, and my grandfather tied it to a kite and we walked with it back to the church. Okay? A lot of you will have still remembered these 5 words, even though you haven't given them a thought ever since the first day of class. That is how good your memory is. Even if you only remembered 2 words, come on, you got to be impressed if you even remembered 2 words. Why did you remember 2 of those words? Because I did not actually ask you to memorize them. If I asked you to memorize them and you went fish red grandfather kite church, fish red grandfather kite church, you wouldn't have remembered any of them today. But I told you a story. Remember that all of this physiology stuff, it's stories. They are stories. Now, I'm not saying they're fascinating stories to you at this point in your educational career, but they are stories, right? If you learn the stories, if you connect one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, then you will remember them. Okay? Trying to memorize is not very effective when it comes to physiology. Okay? So make these things stories. I try to make them stories for you. Your textbook does make them stories. And remember, if you cannot explain the things in the study guide to a classmate or to your family member, if you can't explain them in your own words, you are not ready for the exam. And these are concepts that you will need someday. I told you honestly, you can survive and end up getting your license in nursing or PA school without ever remembering the names of all the bones of the carpus. Honestly, you can. You will not be able to get your license without knowing physiology. It's going to be the basis of those licensing exams, okay? So make sure you know them, okay? Now, another thing that will allow you to make better use of your time is to watch the videos. You're going to be taking notes the way that I described, and then have them on your phone. And while you are doing something else, listen to them. Okay? You're driving in the car. Yes, you could hear some Lady Gaga song for the 20th time that day because, man, radio stations really keep replaying stuff, right? Or you can listen to the video. Listen to the video. Listen to me talking, whatever I'm saying on the video. You watched it once. Now listen to it while you're doing the dishes. Listen to them while you're cleaning up the dining room. Listen to them while you are waiting in line at Starbucks. Each one of them is about 15 minutes long. Listen to the videos. That's another way that you can add study time to your day without having to sit down and take time away from the rest of your busy life. Okay. I also wanted to let you know that there are workshops on campus that are free. You can do them by Zoom right now that give you more tips on how to get more bang out of every hour that you spend studying. There are some counseling workshops. Please let me show you that. Okay. If you go to the counseling, academic counseling, you can see, I'm sorry, it looks like this when you go to academic counseling. Okay. And if you go to workshops, you will see that there is a nursing application workshop coming up. Oh, here they are. These are the nursing application workshops. If it's time for you to apply for the nursing applications, why do it blind? Why not let people help you put together a really good nursing application? All right. So go ahead and do those things. But the ones about how to study better are actually from the Success Center. If you just go to cerritoscollege.edu and in the little search engine put Success Center, it'll bring you here. And there are it'll look like this. There are workshops in the Success Center. Here are the study skills workshops. There are learning to learn, habits of mind, how to prepare for exams, study tips and note-taking strategies, the differences between high school and college, how to reduce test anxiety. Who doesn't need that, right? Exam preparation tips and test taking strategies. These are really useful workshops. They'll take an hour out of your day, but you know what? That hour out of your day is going to pay itself back more than tenfold if it helps you to be more effective with the amount of time. And most of you are planning to go on to an advanced educational program like nursing, like PA school, like PT school. You need to maximize how much use you get out of your study time. Okay, so keep those in mind. All right. Now is not the time to give up. Now is the time for you to double down in your studying and learn how your brain works better. Uh, don't just force yourself to study longer hours. Try to figure out ways you may need to use more time, but also try to find ways to work with your mind. You guys have great minds, okay? They can do this, but you got to work with them. And I hope some of these tips will help.